you doing, folks? Welcome back to the Kilted Drummer. If this is your first time popping onto the channel, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button, and if you enjoy the video, give it the old thumbs up, and that'll help me grow the channel as we're going along. Thanks. So we're out for another little walk in the woods. It's a wee bit of windy today, and if you can hear some of the trees over on the microphone, my apologies for that. It's supposed to be spring, but it's feeling a little bit more like autumn at the moment. So we're up in the Highlands, so I thought I would throw on a wee Highlander today, and the whisky I've brought along with me is a bottle of Old Pulteney. So before we delve into the intricacies of that bottle, we'll just a wee bit of history on Old Pulteney as a distillery. As I said, it's a Highlander, it's up north in Scotland. As you know, Wolfburn is the most northerly distillery. Old Pulteney used to hold that title until Wolfburn popped up about 10 years ago and stepped on their toes. But Old Pulteney has been running since about 1830. I think it's closed down in the 1920s or 1930s. The locals up in Wick had a bit of prohibition. That law disappeared, distillery reopened, and today it's got the capacity of putting out about 1 million litres a year, and it's owned by the Inverhouse Distilling Group, so it's got a wee bit of financial clout and backing behind it. Now the bottle itself, the one I've taken along is the 12-year-old. I picked this up at local supermarket in the region of £30, maybe £29 or so. And it's kind of compatible to a lot of the other 12-year-olds that you'll see sitting on the shelves around about that price range, £30 or so. This one here is presented at 40% ABV. Looking at it, it's got a sort of, let's say, coppery, pinky copper colour to it. It doesn't mention it on the bottle, but we're going to go for it being colour adjusted. From the research I've seen across their core range, the 12-year-old is chill filtered. Now the 12-year-old, as we've talked about in the past, a lot of these distilleries are putting out a non-age statement whisky as almost their baseline, base entry whisky. Old Pulteney do have a non-age statement whisky, but you generally find that their 12-year-old would be, as part of the core range, would be considered the sort of base entry whisky for that distiller. As a whisky, how is it? They market themselves as being the maritime malt, and when you have a wee smell at this whisky, there's definitely a briny saltiness about it. But it's also been matured in ex-bourbon casks, so there's a malty, vanilla kind of sweetness about it. I've heard people say there's a vanilla fudginess about it, but if you know Scotland, we have a sweet up here, a sugary sweet we call tablet. It's a kind of crumbly, sugary version of fudge, and for me there's almost a tablet taste about it. If you can get some tablet, guys, have a wee nibble at it. It'll give you a good sugar buzz, but you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a bit of a banana hint about it, maybe banana bread, something like that, and an almost a citrusy, maybe lemon or lime or something like that, sort of citrusy smell to it. On the taste, again, that citrus comes through, as does the vanilla. There's an oaky maltness there for me. You don't get, I don't get the banana on the taste. That was more on the nose. But there is a definite sweetness, that salty sweetness, a wee sort of conflict, which is quite nice. On the finish, it's heading more towards a medium to long finish. There is perhaps a white pepper sort of spiciness coming in on the finish, and then heading down into a sweet finish, maybe a little bit dry, dry and creamy perhaps. There's a bit of a creamy mouthfeel to it as well. 12-year-old whiskey, £30. Why would you pick out this one over your 12-year-old Glenfiddich, or maybe your 12-year-old Highland Park? I think when it's looking at those sort of examples from the other distilleries, I think there's a slight, it's not complex drama about it, but there's just a little bit more of a character, I think, to this one. Your Glenfiddich's lovely, and you've heard me talk about Highland Park in the past. I like Highland Park. It's got that peatiness about it, but that salty, sort of briny taste about this just gives it that little bit more of a character for a 40% 12-year-old dram. I think it's worth it for the price. I think getting this, sticking it on the shelf and having a wee dram at this, maybe even compare it with some of the other 12-year-olds, see how the different regions compare, and I think you'll enjoy it. So Old Pulteney, 12-year-old, guys, give it a wee sip, see how it feels. Slanger.